Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tejas India Fellowship demo. I'm Om Malviya, President of Tejas India Foundation, and I'll be giving a brief introduction about Tejas India and what this program is about, and the journey of the entire program, and what you can expect today from our fellows. So, Tejas India is an entity and organization in India which is dedicated to promote and support the Tejas ecosystem growth in the region. And we have been mainly active since last 1 year in developer activities, in helping startups navigate their way through Tezos, and connecting and integrating with local blockchain communities, and helping everyone understand what is Tezos and training them to get familiar with Tezos. So it's Teos India was launched in September 2019. This September 2020, we have completed one entire year, and during this interval of an year, we have done multiple events in most of the tech hubs in India, like Gurgaon, Delhi, Bangalore, and we have organized one online Tezos hackathon, which was Tez India, Harappa, and we have done more than, I guess, 15 sessions with different kind of universities, and training all the students and undergraduate students about what blockchain is, and specifically what Tezos is and how to start development of Tezos. So all these sort of activities led us through articulating this program and formatting this program to realize and enable a platform for undergraduate and developers in universities and colleges to showcase their skills of Tejas development, and give them an empty canvas so that they can paint whatever picture they want using Tezos tools and the Tezos tech stack, which these guys have done very amazingly. And we are gonna see all the projects that all our fellows have done in just a short amount of 8 weeks. So the idea of Tejas India Fellowship was very simple. That we didn't have any idea that we are gonna get so much of participation. uh, we we wanted to start very small. We just wanted to have 10 fellows in the first cohort, but we received 1400 applications. But due to limited amount of resources, as we didn't expect this amount of participation, we had to select 10 amazing developers out of 1400 students, and the professionals who also applied, as this first cohort was to be focused mainly on universities and colleges. We started with that. We have partnered with some of the amazing ecosystem and developer teams, which are actively building on Theos all around the globe, located in New York and Switzerland and in different parts of the world. And throughout this entire program, our main goal was to help these 10 selected fellows to build their idea on top of Tezos, and help them build and give them whatever help they require in terms of mentorship, in terms of any technical issues or technical guidance, and have all of these projects, and then at the end see realize the potential in the projects that they build, and present these projects in front of the community. So that's what we have done so far. uh, I'm really amazed by the growth, and the the talent that we have selected, because within 8 weeks these guys have built the entire front end, back end, and working demos of the projects, which are not just simple one, but you could say, when you get to see them, which are rather seem to be a little bit advanced for the students who are just in their third year or final year or recently graduated. And obviously this was all possible by amazing people in the ecosystem. Mainly, I would like to thank the show team, entire team as well, for pulling all nighters, for helping debugging these codes. Our amazing team which we have partnered multiple times, Cryptonomic, Vishak and Mike, and the entire team. They have also helped a lot of fellows in all the entire tech stack, the tools that they be using, and also regarding the mentorship. Then also, I would like to thank the SmartPy team. So SmartPy is the main smart contracting language where on which all the projects have been built on, and they have also been really helpful in debugging all of the issues that these fellows felt during their entire timeline, and staying very active and helping us to make this possible. And the other thing that we are also very, which was coincidental, and we are really thankful for, is the core protocol developers who launched the Delphi testnet in time, because one or two of our projects were facing some sort of gas issues, and now most of the projects that you're going to see have already migrated to the DelphiNet, which is an amazing thing to witness. So without further ado, these projects are there are going to be 7 demos today, and each project is going to get 7 minutes for presenting and 2 or 3 minutes for question and answers, which all of you feel free to ask any question that you might have. And all of these projects and fellows, if you don't necessarily have to take the entire 10 minutes or 7 minutes for presenting. If you are able to present your entire project or give your entire demo within 5 minutes, and then you feel free to take 2 or 3 minutes more for question and answers. So we have kept our entire program since the beginning very flexible. All the ideas that these fellows are presenting are totally theirs. They initially these are all their ideas. We have just helped them to fine tune their idea regarding with the mentorship and the guidance of all our ecosystem partners. So let me stop myself right here and take you through the main all the demos. Thank you guys for being here again, and I really appreciate. Please, if you like any project, if you like any demo, feel free to put some comments in the chat section. Feel free to keep putting some likes and hearts, blue hearts, in whatever way you can appreciate the work of these folks. Thanks again. Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, hi everyone. So welcome to the Tezos India Fellowship Demo Day. So today we have like 7 projects lined up for the demo. I'll be starting with Shubham, who will quickly walk you through his project. So Q&A session will be right after his session. Okay, hi Shubham.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Shubham and I built a project called Cryptis during the course of this fellowship. So Cryptis is a non-fungible token-based fantasy cricket league. The project is primarily based on the most popular sport in India, that is cricket. So before moving on to the details of the project, I would just like to give a little bit context about cricket. So cricket is a bat and ball game played between two teams of 11 players on the field. So India also hosts a domestic cricket league called as Indian Premier League. And the total viewership of IPL last year was close to 462 million, which is even more than the total population of the United States. So yeah, there's a big market for cricket in India and overall South Asia. Moving on to the project, the core idea of the project was to build something like crypto kitties for cricket players. So I built a platform that tokenizes cricket players in form of cards. So every and where every card is a non-fungible token, and every player participating in the league has 100 cards, which are NFTs and are unique for its card score and price accordingly. But then, what's so special about these tokens? Why would someone buy them? So I added a whole new layer of fantasy league to the project, which basically allows you to select 5 cards and compete for a particular match. Compete for a particular match, and depending upon the performance of the player in the real match, the card score goes up or down. And of course, if the card score goes up, the price for that card also increases. Summarizing the project quickly. So yeah, the user comes in, buys a card, competes with a card, increases its card score, and then sells a card for a higher price. So yeah, this is the main idea of the project. Now we'll guide you through a quick demo of the project. So this is the platform Cricktase which I've built. So the first screen, before this, the user has to like connect the dApp through Thanos wallet and he's good to go. So the first screen he lands on is the buy card section, where you can like see all the cards which are already listed on the marketplace. So like someone can connect their wallet, come in, let's say I want to buy this card, so I'll click the card. I can see all the details about the card right here. Its unique key, the current card score, the price for which it is right now listed on the marketplace, the current owner of the card, the player score, and like basic stats of the player. I can go ahead and click on buy to like complete the transaction, and then I'll be the owner of the card. The second section is the sell cards section, where you'll see your own cards. Right now I'm logged in through this account, so I'll see all the cards that are owned by this account. So this account owns like plenty of cards, and like if I want to sell a card, I just have to click the card, set a price for a card, which will like depend upon the card score. Click on sell, complete the transaction, and then the card will be listed here on the marketplace. The third section is the search player section, where like you can basically search for your favorite players and like see if they are a part of the dApp or not. Then this is the main section, the core of the dApp, which like allows you to compete for different matches. So right now match is active. The match is between Mumbai Indians and Kolkata Knight Riders. So I like get the list of cards which I own, plus which either belong to both of the teams. So I'll have to select 5 cards which I think will perform well in the real match. Click on continue and then click on compete to like obtain my cards for that particular match. And like when the when the match ends, I'll get my cards back with the increased card scores, and the card score will depend upon the real performance of the player in the match. The algorithm of the increase in card score is designed in a way that if your card score is already higher, you will get rewarded more. So yeah, this is the your profile section, basically where you see your address through which you are logged in and the balance. These 3 routes are exclusive for the admin, so that you like to let you know how the things work in back. So right now I'm logged in through the admin account. That's why I'm seeing these 3 routes. Here I can like go ahead and add any player to the dApp. So like I can search for the player and click on add the player. The next section is mint players, which is the same. Like if I want to mint a card for some address, I type in the player name, I type in the receiver of the token and click on mint, and like the card will be minted to that address. The last section is the match section, where like the admin controls which matches are active and that sort of things. And we also have a add match section, where the admin can add the match. Once a match is added, there are 3 stages for a particular match. First, the match gets added, then it goes into the compete section. If I right now there are 2 matches. The first match is active, but the second match is not active. If I click this activate button, this match will be active, and it will be like people can opt in their cards for this particular match. And whenever I click on end match, the match ends on in the smart contract, and the card score increases according to the real performance. So yeah, that was it. And before you log in into the dApp, we also have a landing page to get you started. So we have also YouTube video which will guide you through all the operations, like how can you buy cards or compete for a particular match. We have also like write down the details of how the platform works, and like why the platform is better than the normal normal betting platforms also. So yeah, that was the project. I would just like to conclude by thanking the Tezos India Foundation for giving this great opportunity. And special thanks to my mentors, Jignesh sir and Om sir, for helping in every possible aspect, and also the DevFolio team, especially Denver, for making this fellowship such smooth experience. So yeah, thank you so much. If anyone has some questions or doubts, like they can shoot it up in the chat section. So I think
Yeah.
Rohit
So,
Shetty has a question.
hey everyone. If anybody, yeah. So, once again, Shubham, due to short amount of time, whatever questions you guys have, please keep asking them. And at the end of all the demos, we'll try to answer them, in just one go, because we have got 7 projects lined up, which is just a new development. Thanks for your time, guys. Shubham, you can read the question, and at the end we'll come back to all this question back again, and you feel free to answer all of them.
Sure.
Sneha, can we have the next demo?
Yeah, so next we have Anshu, Yash, and Guna. So I'll be inviting them to the stage. Okay, guys, you can take over the screen.
Yep. So first of all, good evening, everyone. So our project for the fellowship is the SQF. It is a crowdfunding platform based on the concept of quadratic funding. It is similar to Gitcoin grants, but the difference here is in the governance of the funding rounds. So unlike Gitcoin grants, we have a decentralized governance model where we have created a DAO to manage the funding rounds. So before moving on to explaining how our project actually works, first I'll talk about why we chose this particular project. One of the major reasons for us working on such a project is that there has been a rapid growth in the number of projects which are showing up in the Tezos ecosystem. Until now, most of the grants has been provided by the Tezos Foundation and other equivalent organizations. We believe that with decentralized finance, gaming, and other various spaces heating up on Tezos, it is about time we have a more robust grants platform which makes it easier for the funds to reach the right projects. Now, of course, the SQF is not just limited to Tezos-based projects, but we believe that that would be a natural starting point. Now, secondly, major stakeholders in the Tezos ecosystem can directly sponsor a lot of projects together as grants in the funding rounds, resulting in a more rich ecosystem. And finally, as I said, a decentralized governance model would be more beneficial to maintain the decentralized aspect in the blockchain projects, which is lacking in existing solutions. Now, our project is similar to Gitcoin grants, as I said, and stakeholders in the Tezos ecosystem can be part of the DAO managing the funding rounds by owning some governance tokens. And anyone in the world can enter their enter their project in the funding round. Anyone in the world can contribute their favorite projects, and all the projects will get their share of the grant according to the match funding method. Now, the match funding method is an extension of the crowdfunding. In addition to the contribution received from the community in a matching fund scheme, sponsors provide a matching gift, usually a 1-to-1 ratio. But this process has a fundamental flaw, which we'll explain next, and also demonstrate how we can do better. Now, how can we design a better platform? Enter quadratic funding and the concept of capital constrained liberal radicalism. Now, my teammate Guna will take over to talk more on the quadratic funding method and explain other questions. I think he has some connection issues. I'll just continue. So what is quadratic funding? It is proposed by Vitalik Buterin, and it is the most optimal method of distributing public funds. So for example, if a project 1 has received 30 XTZ in contributions, and a project 2 has received 30 XTZ in contribution as well, but the first project received the 30 TES from a total of 1 contributor only, and the second project received 30 TZ from a total of 2 contributors. So that may be from 15 TES, or it might be 20 TES and 10 TES, whatever it may be. So now the final CLR match. The CLR match is, as I said, the capital restraint liberal radicalism match from the grant fund that would be matched to the project's fund would be calculated using the quadratic formula, and accordingly optimally disbursed to the project's owner. So we'll just move on to the demo where Anshu can explain the quadratic funding method in detail.
Is my screen visible? Okay. So hello everyone. Here you can see this is the landing page of our platform. So our platform is divided into 2 sections. The first section is the project section, and the second section is the governance section. So the governance section deals with the proposal for new funding rounds and also for maintaining the integrity of the platform. And the project section deals with the actual functionalities of the rounds. So first we'll see what the project section is all about. So right now we have the second funding round ongoing. Now this will seem very much like a standard Kickstarter type architecture. So projects can come up and they can enlist themselves by entering some of the important information. And then once they have entered the funding round, any community member who likes a particular project can come up and contribute to their favorite project. They can enter the amount, and then after making a transaction, the contribution is done. So this is plain and simple. The actual action is happening in the backend. So this can be observed in the funding round 1, which has already ended. And here we can see the CLR matches for the 2 different projects. The third project is disqualified, and we'll come to that later on. For the first 2 projects, we see both of them have received equal contributions of 20 TES each. But the CLR match, which is the match from the funding pool, is much higher for the second project. That's almost 1.8 times the first project. And this is because the second project has received 20 TES from a total of 4 contributors, whereas the first project has received it only from 2 contributors. And because the curve is not linear, because of that, the CLR matches are different. And we'll also notice that here the number of contributors is exactly twice the first project, but the CLR matches are not exactly double, right? It's about 1.8. The main reason for that is we are not factoring in the output of the quadratic function directly. we are actually calculating something called the subsidy ratios. And the math behind it is described in one of the Agora articles which we put out. We'll link that up in the chat box. So if anyone is interested in the mathematics, you can go over that. So now let's go over and check out the governance section. Now to participate in the governance, you need to be the holder of governance tokens. Like right now I have about 2,300 governance tokens, which we can also see in the Thanos wallet. So in the governance section, we have two different parts, the executive proposals and the dispute settlement. So the executive proposal is all about proposing a different funding round. So suppose we can set up a new funding round proposal where you can enter the date, the start date and the end date, the number, the categories of the projects we are accepting, and then any relevant description of a new funding round. And then after making a transaction, that will be listed in a voting contract, and then it can be voted upon. So I won't make a new proposal because that will take time, but I'll show an archive proposal. So this is the proposal for funding round 1, which got accepted. And since this is a token voting mechanism, we have to lock up our tokens in a voting contract. And since this account was a voter for this particular funding round proposal, so my tokens are already locked up, and I have the option of withdrawing my tokens by processing a transaction. So I'll skip that. So besides the executive decisions, we have the dispute section. So in dispute, suppose we feel that a particular project is not abiding by the norms of the platform. Suppose if we go over to the funding round, we see, let's focus on this particular project. If you look at the contributors of this particular project, we see a very unusual pattern. We see 5 different contributions of 1 TES each. This is a typical Sybil attack pattern. So right now, we don't have a decentralized identity solution inbuilt, which we will be integrating later on. So right now, we are relying on the governance model to take control and identify the Sybil attack patterns, because when the platform is small, we can rely on the governance model itself, because small contributions coming in from 50 different accounts is very much identifiable when the project is pretty small. So suppose we want to raise a dispute against TES sign, we can go over to the governance, to the dispute section. And we can set up a dispute. So I'll choose TES sign. I won't enter any links right now. And for disputing any project, we have to stake a total of 200 DAO tokens. Now, in the event that the project is eliminated from that, after a voting process, the project is eliminated, then every project has to initially put a stake for maintaining the integrity. So that stake will come over to the disputer. And if after the voting process, it is identified that the project was proper and it wasn't really against the norms of the platform, then the disputer will lose all the 200 tokens. So here we can see the voting process. Here we can click on vote. We can choose whether we are in favor of the dispute or we are not in the favor. This process is similar for the round proposals. And then we can enter the number of tokens we want to vote with. Suppose if I want 400 tokens, I can confirm. So here we see the transaction has already taken place. It's yet to update on the front end, but 400 tokens have been taken away from Charlie's account. So yep, and we can see that it's actually considering 20 because, as we said, it's using the quadratic formula even for the voting. So it's actually root over of 400, which is 20. But at the time of the settlement of this dispute, when the final calculation is done, it will be squared again, and then the sum will be taken. So once again, the math can be seen on our Agora article in a more proper way. So that's pretty much it. And Yash will tell us about the future plans of this project very briefly. Yes, you can take over.
Yeah, so first of all, let me continue with saying, okay, Guna, are you going?
He has poor connection. I guess yes, you should be continuing.
Yeah, okay, I'll continue. So, first of all, I'll expand on why we are using a DAO and how it's more important. One of the major problems faced by Gitcoin grants was in their governance. What would frequently happen was a lot of people would blatantly rip off other people's projects and list them as theirs in order to get funding. Or someone would make a fake project listing in order to trap people into contributing to their project. There was no decentralized way of removing such projects, and moreover, a lot of projects were very controversial in nature. And in such cases, the administrators of the grant would have to decide for themselves whether to keep the projects or to disqualify them. Now, this is not the essence of blockchain entirely. A decentralized autonomous organization would allow a healthy governance system, perhaps from people that want the Telos ecosystem to grow themselves. So as Anshu showed in the demo, members of the DAO can vote on disqualifying certain projects that do not seem proper, and members can also decide when a particular round will start and everything in between, and have all the managerial voting powers. So for our future plans, what first what we took a lot of feedback from. Firstly, we'll definitely incorporate all the feedback given by everyone here as well as from the Agora forum in the future. We got really great feedback there, such as making milestone based payments, disbursals to projects, and even integrating decentralized identity solutions to prevent spam. And finally, a few testing rounds on the Delphinet, along with correcting any problem that we face there, would be perfect for us to launch on the mainnet in the near future. Lastly, I'd like to say that this fellowship has been an incredible learning opportunity, and the experience gained by interacting with the developers at the forefront of Tezos development has just been incredible. I feel like being at the part of the cutting edge of blockchain technology, and my teammates Anshu and Guna would like to share their experiences as well.
Okay, guys, I think we need to wind it up because we just have only 10 minutes of timeline for everyone. So you can just finish it up in 1 minute.
Like we can just answer the questions in the chat box. So I think we are done here.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. All right, so okay, so we have so next Madhav will be taking up. So hi Madhav, can you
Hi,
start?
good evening. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah, it is.
Hi, so I worked on a subscription-based token, so enabling token subscriptions on the Tezos platform. Initially, we had a brief discussion with Mike, and based on suggestions given by him, I decided to work on this project. So this involves basically enabling replayable transactions on the Tezos platform. So moving ahead, the concept is simple. Replayable transactions, users get to sign a bytes hash that is composed of the input data for the transaction. I'll be explaining what this input data is. This is followed by an off-chain transaction where the payment is carried out and the money moves from the subscriber to the publisher. Now, why this subscription-based platform? So first of all is that you don't need to read a complex white paper. that is pretty much self-explanatory, and you can cancel anytime. So apart from that, it also protects the interests of the founders. Now, what are the benefits for the founders? There are consistent cash flows, because once you've enabled a subscription, you need to complete the subscription. And you can like execute time tested business models, and like there is very little regulatory uncertainty. It is bound to execute. So I'll do a small walkthrough of the project now. So basically this is the platform, and I'm using a TestBridge wallet. So the first part of this involves a receiver or a publisher publishing his contract. Now here he mentions certain parameters. So we just get to this part. Um, so I'll explain to you what the parameters are as well. So the first part is the publisher or the service provider building a contract by setting a couple of parameters. Now there are two tricks which I'll be explaining. The first trick is called replay nonce. Now this allows you to essentially replay a transaction. So over here you can see that I've logged in through my account. I'll start accepting. So these are the parameters that I set. One is the to address, which is basically who I'm paying my tokens to. So I've created a waste coin just for the purpose of this demo, and I'll be setting the amount to 0.0001, which is basically 10 TZ, because this is in MuTest. So I'll keep it for 1 minute for the purpose of this demo, and I'll deploy this contract. You can see that I've received a transaction on TestBridge. I have approved this transaction, and we should be moving forward any minute. So yes, so these are the parameters which I was speaking about. You can go through them. So the number of tokens, which is defined by the token amount, the time period, I've set it to 1 minute, as you saw, which means that every 1 minute I'll have a transaction executing. There is a to address, meaning the tokens are transferred to the to address. There's a token address, which is my waste coin specifically developed for this subscription model. And there's the gas price. Now, what is the gas price? The gas price is a certain amount which is transferred to the desktop miner. And now a very common question is, who is a desktop miner? So over here, what is happening is there is an off-chain script. This off-chain script is a regular parser, which is a live parser, which is calculating the times and executing the subscriptions. So basically, the gas amount is a payment done to the desktop miners in order to enable the transfer of tokens. So enabling the subscription. So we should be ready over here. Yeah. So we're just executing. And meanwhile, so I can show you. Yeah. So basically, yeah. So this is done. So our contract is ready. Now, this enables me to share the URL with whoever I want to give the subscription to. This allows me to add it to my website as well, and there's a QR code as well. Now suppose I have copied this and now identify me as a subscriber to the service. Now I run this, so we just wait for it to load, and this is the second part of it. So the second part of the platform is basically, I showed you the generated URL. The URL can be sent to the subscribers. These subscribers can open the URL and they can start signing the transactions to execute the subscriptions. So I'll just again I'll just sign in. Now this time I'll sign in through the sender. If you would have observed, it was the receiver for the first time. The sender is basically the subscriber who will be sending the tokens. So we should see this turning. And basically now the next part is going to be a hash which is going to be signed, and this hash basically contains all the information about a transaction, as I previously told. So just a second. Yeah, so we got it, and this should be loading any time now. So it'll mention the parameters of our transaction. So basically, again, the 10 MuTest, which are going to be 10 tokens, which are going to transfer, and you have the token address, which is the waste coins address, and you have the time limit after which it's going to recur. So let us sign this transaction. We should see a transaction popping up. We saw a transaction.
Madhav, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think we can only see your PPT. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Just a second.
All right.
Is my screen visible now?
Yeah, it is. I think, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so basically that, and it's the same thing as what is happening in the presentation. So I have signed this. Basically, right after signing, it takes me to the final part of the demo, which is basically the approval part. So an interesting thing, the second mechanism by which this platform works is a play pause button. So the play pause button is basically the approve function of a FA 1.2, or also known as the ERC20 token in Ethereum. So this FA 1.2 approve function is basically a play pause button. It will, once you approve a certain number of tokens, these tokens will transfer from the from one account to another account. So as you can see over here, I have already approved 800 tokens, and you'll be able to see the change every minute. So I'll just show this to you. Yeah. So as you can see, it changed to 790, and my tokens. So this was the token balance which I had initially given. I had initially given 9,900 tokens to this address, and you should be able to see that every minute these are increasing. So just for the purpose of this demo, I've initially approved about 1,000 tokens, and you can see that every minute there is a transaction going through. So that is for the demo. Now another unique feature about this is, I'll just show it to you. So basically we are allowed to generate an open-ended contract. Now what I mean by an open-ended contract is, so an open-ended contract is basically me generating a contract but not specifying the parameters. So this will allow me to accept any sort of token which the subscriber wants to send me. So it can be either a DAO, it can be either any sort of token which the subscriber wants to send to me. And this is called as an open-ended transaction. So I'll just show you how that's done as well. So I set the parameter to any over here, and I deploy the contract. So this essentially means that I'll be able to set any sort of parameters I want, which I'll show you. So we just wait for this to deploy. Meanwhile, so we saw the fourth stage. We could see the tokens subtracting every minute and flowing from one account to another account. Now there are also certain additional features. So as I told that there is a feature to cancel the subscription anytime. So, and the other feature which I'm planning to include is integrating an Oracle so as to allow existing platforms like Netflix, and you can pay them in dollars or rupees, whatever currency you want to convert it to. So this is the alternate scheme which I was talking about, which allows me to deploy an open-ended subscription, which I'll be showing to you. Now, what are the use cases and what is the motivation behind this? So basically, you have merchants who accept credit cards. So basically, you have your credit card, you take it to a store, you swipe it over there. That is like a token. That is like an approval. Once you've approved it, tokens flow from one direction to another direction. So one user to another user. So this is essentially what happens here as well. It's the same process which can be visualized. Now the future scope of this project is basically integrating it with the quadratic funding platforms and the Gitcoin like platforms, Gitcoin grant like platforms. And another thing is integration of the price feed oracles. And the third thing is further testing on the Delphinet before I can deploy it on the mainnet. So yes, so this is right about the end of my demo. We can just go through this, the open-ended subscriptions. They basically execute the same way as a normal subscription, apart from, I'll just show you how to set the parameters. So again, the sender, because he's going to be sending. So we should see this load any time now. Yeah. Yes, so I would like to thank Om, Aditya, Sir, Debyo, Kapil, Jignesh for guiding me through the Tezos India Fellowship. They were of immense help over these 8 weeks. Literally, I could text them anytime and they would be there to solve and debug my programs. Special mentions to Claude Bart and FFF from the SmartPy and Taquito teams as well, who helped me establish this project. And I've had so much to learn over these past 8 weeks, and it's been an honor to be here. So yes, just finishing up, this is how you set the parameters for an open-ended subscription. So it essentially functions the same way as a normal thing. Yeah, that'll be it.
Okay, thank you, Madhav. So next
Thank
we
you.
have Devanshu and Aryan. I'll be quickly inviting them. Okay, guys, you can start.
So hello everybody, I'm Devansh, and with my partner Aryan, we have created this funding project known as Tijori. The idea of this project was basically to model a scenario where multiple people come in together and put their money onto a project or a business and get some form of equity returns or monetary benefit out of it, kind of like a VC funding type of a thing where VCs fund any seed stage startups and earn some handsome returns on it. So this is what we wanted to implement. While having a conversation with the mentors, we realized that a one vote, one person model might not work best in most scenarios, and that is what is mostly available in the current structure in online funding right away. So we went along with deploying a quadratic voting scheme and developing a platform on top of it, which would help creating a more real life boardroom situation rather than a hypothetical situation. So I'll just walk you through what exactly happens. Any person, for example, I'll name this person Daniel, can create a DAO on our platform and can specify the nitty-gritties of the DAO, like minimum contribution of DAO and the kind of areas which he is ready to invest in. Now multiple people can come in and join DAO as these members. Now the DAO members have the functionality. First, they have to contribute towards they have to put up some funds inside the DAO to become a member on it. One, and two, they have certain functionalities which a certain authorities that allow them to put their funds into multiple projects or in a single project, depending on a scenario of what exactly do they prefer. And all of this is done using quadratic voting, which helps us with the governance. So I'll move on to the demo right now. I'll play the video of the demo of the platform that we have created, and we'll continue then.
Is the audio audible?
No, it's not.
So Devansh, can you do a voiceover in while the video plays, so it would give a better understanding?
Yeah, sure. So as soon as we could you just back it up a little, Aaron?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So as soon as we land, this is the landing page of the platform that we have created. And as soon as we landed onto it, these are the things that you see. There's a carousel right away that helps the basic user to guide about what exactly to do. We'll move on to creating a DAO. Now we can create a DAO by putting in multiple parameters in it. The most important being the contribution value and the number of tokens that you get. So it can be a 1-to-1 ratio. It can be anything that the person that the administrator is trying to be wants it to be. There we also put in a start time and an end time. Now these start and end time determine the length at which the DAO operates, the time length at which the DAO operates, and also the time at which the voting happens. And there's also we've also incorporated a dispute mechanism inside the DAO, which helps us in disputing in a scenario where multiple people feel that certain parties are not performing as per the system, so that their funds can be secure. So we'll just So as you see on the screen, we've created the DAO, and now we'll move on to the funding purposes. This is the DAO page where multiple DAOs are listed. As soon as you register your DAO onto the platform, it is available on this screen. The DAOs are also bifurcated as per their risk profile. Now, as soon as we enter the DAO page, the first thing to do anything inside a DAO or to do any form of governance, you need to become a member. So we become a member by contributing inside the DAO, and that minimum amount has already been set by the administrator itself. Yeah. So before we move on, I like to show this that this is the business token of the platform. Now, what exactly happens and what is the utility of this token is as soon as a DAO, as soon as any form of funding happens inside the platform, every member of the DAO gets a business token, or we are calling it the Tijori token in this platform per se. What exactly is the utility of this token is it can be used to extract some form of monetary value or some form of equity value from the project owner itself. So that deal has already that discussion or that deal has all we assume that deal has already been done by the members of the DAO as well as the project they are trying to fund. So in this scenario right now, we create a proposal. Now, what exactly is a proposal? A proposal can be anything per se. It can be a proposal to fund a specific project in a specific domain. For example, someone might be more comfortable in funding a project in fintech or in DeFi rather than in gaming. So these are multiple proposals where people can propose. We right now created a proposal in DeFi, and it has a proposal ID of 1. Now we are right now putting in the project details of the platform, where anyone who has a legitimate project and wants to get any kind of funding can land up onto the DAO and add their project onto the platform, where the DAO members can view the project, and if they deem it necessary enough to get funds, they can put their fund onto the project and have a discussion around it. Yeah, so shows that the project is already added. Now we'll go on. So now this happens to be another important part. What exactly happens in this scenario, as I'd like to iterate over it, is that we as a member are right now funding the project. Now, what exactly, as stated earlier, we're using a quadratic voting scheme. So as soon as what exactly quadratic voting scheme imitates is, as soon as we vote something, for example, we vote n, the amount deducted from our values is n square. So we are right now voting 5, and the initial value was 100. That is why the blip on the screen showed us that the remaining value in our account is 75. So it deducted 25 from the account. I'll also vote on the proposal right away. Now, yeah, moving forward, any member of the DAO per se can propose results on the platform. They can just type in the product ID as well as the project ID and propose the results. Now, this is essentially to initiate a process where so that things can move forward and people can be informed about what is the status of their funding request happening. Now, after this, as soon as you'll see a pop-up coming once again showing that the transaction is successful. Now, another thing, as I stated earlier, we also added a dispute functionality on top of it, where if certain members of the organization or DAO feel that administrator is or any party per se is malpracticing or misusing the authority, they can just put in their ID, and all the funds in that very situation or DAO will be frozen. And it can and a regain functionality can be used to reimburse the funds of every members. We'll finalize the round right now. So as soon as the results are done, we'll show you a blip where each member gets a token, as well as the project account gets funded. Now, so this is the reward functionality, and as soon as we press it, the funds are transferred to the project account that has been voted by a majority through cooperative voting. Now we'll move towards showing that the project account has been funding. Arun, could you just move towards the part where we show the account?
Yeah, just a minute. So that part went missing while editing, so I will post show it afterwards. So you can move on to the next thing.
Okay, so other than that, there's a gain project token also. Now this function becomes another very important part of it, where as soon as you put in a DAO ID and put in a submit button, the individual members get a business token out of it, and they can use it for any form of monetary advantage, compensation factors, etc. So I'll look into it if that's available in the video, or otherwise, yeah. So as you can see, these are the 1,000, these are the 100, the value has been incremented. We could not show you the value earlier, but we'll make sure that the screenshot available in the GitHub repositories. I guess that's it. Before concluding, I'd like to
for the reward function, I can show you the transaction that earlier happened. So so in the operations section, you can see that these funds have been transferred.
Yeah, so we'll give them, if anyone has certain ask questions regarding it, we'll just give them during the doubt session. We'll just conclude because we are short on time as well. So before concluding, I'd like to thank everybody in the Tezos India Foundation, especially Om, Aditya, Dibyo, and Denver from Devfolio. They have been of immense help, and I don't think that we could have achieved developing this project in such a short time. And I'm looking really forward to developing more on the Tezos ecosystem. It has been a really great and learning experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Devanshu and Aryan. So next we have Soumya, who will be going with the presentation. Also, a quick reminder to all of you to finish the presentation in the timeline of 10 minutes. Okay, you can start the presentation.
Thanks. Hopefully I'm audible. Hi everyone, I'm Shomo, and I've been working on a project called TrueSwap. So I'll share my screen. So I've been working on a project called TrueSwap. So TrueSwap is basically a decentralized exchange based on the atomic swap protocol. So before I jump into TrueSwap and what it does and its working, I would like to talk a little bit about atomic swap itself. So what is an atomic swap? So atomic swaps are automated self-enforcing cryptocurrency exchange contracts that allow cryptocurrencies to be traded peer-to-peer without the need of a trusted third party. So atomic swaps were designed to be decentralized. It was meant to remove any central third-party service and to enable direct peer-to-peer transactions. But currently, most exchanges that provide atomic swap services use some sort of centralized backend service. So most of the exchanges that are providing this atomic swap service usually have a backend server and database that they usually use for order book maintenance and order matching purpose. So in atomic swap, what happens is that there's a maker or a initiator basically, and a taker or a counterparty. So the initiator will create a request or order for the exchange, and the taker or the counterparty will basically respond to it and basically exchange the cryptocurrency or assets directly peer-to-peer. But as you can see, the current implementation of most of the exchanges usually use a central server where the order is first registered into a central service, and only then can a counterparty respond to that, like search for the particular order and respond to it. And after that, it goes on to the actual blockchain atomic swap process. So the goal of my project, TrueSwap, is to completely remove these third-party off-chain service or centralized service and completely let the users perform each of these steps, including the order book maintenance and order matching part, directly on chain. So I'll go ahead with a quick demo. So this is TrueSwap, the homepage of my application. So a user has to first log in basically into the client application with their credentials. So right now TrueSwap is deployed on the testnet for Ethereum. It is on the Goerli testnet, and for Tezos it is on the Carthage net. So I'll use my private keys to provide access to this test account. So once I log into the application, my details are shown here. So the application will load up my address and other details, and it will show that, and it will provide me two options: either to learn more about how to do that swap and what TrueSwap is basically, or I can just go ahead and click and start a new swap. So I'll go ahead and start a new swap here. So if I start a new swap, I'll get two options. Either I can convert Tez to Ethereum or Ethereum to Tez. So TrueSwap currently, as I said, is deployed on a testnet and is only available for Ethereum and Tezos. So you can basically convert your Ethereum to Tezos and vice versa, basically. So I'll go ahead for Ethereum to Tez. So I want to exchange my Ethereum and convert it to Tez, basically. So I'll go ahead and click on this. On clicking on that option, I'll get a screen that will provide me with two options, basically. Again, create a new swap or select from available swaps. So in the select from available swaps is basically it should list all the swaps that are currently there. So someone has already created a swap, and you can choose from this list and respond to a swap that suits your need. But currently we don't have any swaps, so I'll go ahead and create a new swap. So I'll go ahead and create a swap for, let's say, 0.01 Tez, Ethereum. So currently 0.01 Ethereum is equivalent to 1.35 Tez. This exchange rate is the current exchange rate, and it is being taken from the Harbinger contract, basically. And I can go ahead and create this swap. So the application is going to directly create my swap request. So I'm creating a swap request right now. So my client application is going to create that swap request and directly put it onto the blockchain. So there is no intermediary backend service in between right now. So the application is creating the swap request. So the swap has been initiated. So we can see the details of the swap. So this is my unique hash for the swap, and the value of the swap that I have placed, and the expiration time, that is exactly 2 hours from the time that I've started the swap, actually. And the state of the swap that is currently initiated. So a swap can be in 4 states, basically. So if I click on the about section, I have listed the states here. So a swap can be in either swap initiated state. Basically in this state, the swap has been created, like swap request or response has been initiated. Then a swap response found state, basically someone has responded to the swap. So at that point, the swap will change to this state, and finally it can be either completed state or refunded. So if the swap successfully completes and the assets are exchanged, then it will be in completed state. Or if something goes wrong in between or there's no response for the swap, it will get refunded after the expiration time that I showed you. So I have created a swap for the Ethereum to Tez. Now I'll go ahead and log in with a different set of credentials. So this is a can be thought of as a second counterparty basically. He could be geographically located somewhere else. So this person is going to log in with their own set of credentials, and once they do, they'll have their own credential account details here. So this account is completely different from from these account details, as you can see. So the details are completely different. So this is a completely different account. I can go ahead and now click on new swap. So I want to exchange my Tez with Ethereum in this case. So I'll go ahead and click on this option now. So once I do that, I should be able to see the swap that I created in the previous client here. So we can see this swap being shown here. So we are not using any backend service here. It is directly querying the blockchain and getting all these details. So the swap that is coming here is coming from is this exact same one as this one. We can check 9BD5. This is also 9BD5, and the value is 1.1 Tez. 0.01 Ethereum, sorry, and I'll be paying 1.35 Tez at this moment. So I can go ahead and click on this or create a new swap, but I'll go ahead and respond to this swap itself. So if I click on this, I'll basically create a new swap on the Tezos network right now. So it takes some time to create the swap. So once the swap is created, I'll get something like this with the value and expiration time and state mentioned. So while that happens, so a swap after being initiated, like when a swap actually finds a response, it takes about 10 minutes to finish the whole process of the exchange. So due to time constraints, I might not be able to show the full swap process. So I've already recorded a demo previously, just a few minutes ago. So I'll show that one, and I'll fast forward to those specific positions where the swap state is changing. So once this swap is actually created, I'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, so the swap has been created, as you can see. The hash is the same as this one, but the previous one, but the value is different. Right now, this is on the Tezos network. The previous one was for the Ethereum swap. So, okay, so the state is also changed on this one. The swap response has been found. So this client has detected that a response for this swap has been generated by this one. So I'll go ahead and now skip to the video, basically. So this is a similar setup to what I showed right now. So I've created a Ethereum to Tez swap on the left tab, and on the right tab, I've responded to the swap. So I'll go ahead and play the just first fast forward to the position. So right now, both the swaps are in initiated state. So if I go ahead and skip a little, I'll find that on the left tab, the swap response has changed, or the state has changed to swap response found. If I go ahead a little bit more, I should see that the swap response has been found on the right tab also. So both the clients have now locked on basically, and now they can finally go ahead and complete the swap exchange, basically atomic swap exchange. So before that, we'll just take a look at the balances of these two accounts. So on the left tab, we are converting our Ethereum to Tez. So on the left tab, we have Tezos account balance as 11,303. So after the swap finishes, we should get an extra 1.35 Tez added to that balance. And similarly, on the right tab, we are doing Tez to Ethereum exchange. So right now on the right tab, we have an Ethereum balance of 0.53. And after the exchange completes, we should have a balance of 0.54 basically, because we'll be getting this 0.01 Ethereum added to the account. So I'll go ahead and skip to the part where the swap actually finishes now. Okay, so the swap has finished on the left tab, as you can see. So the state is completed. and the balance is also updated to 11,304. So and some cents. So it has finished, and the balance is according to what we expected. And similarly, after this has finished, the other swap should also finish in some time. So I'll skip to that point. Okay, so this has also finished. So right tab, we have also have a state completed, as you can see, and the balance has not updated yet. So it can take about a minute to update the balance. So if we go a little bit ahead, yeah, so the balance is updated to 0.54 Ethereum. So that was the whole swap process. I guess that was all from my side. But before ending, I would like to thank the Tezos India Foundation for giving this great opportunity to present my work and to learn from everyone. And also, I would like to thank my mentor, Mike Radin, and the whole Cryptonomic team for their constant guidance and support. So that was all from my side. If there are any questions, we can take it up now.
Okay, I think questions will be taken up later. Thank you so much, Soumya. I'll be inviting next Anmol.
So yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible. You can share your screen now.
Right. So is the screen visible now? Okay, so the project name is Vikal and my mentor is Om Sir. So as a Vikal team, so we have been, we help in purchasing and selling of securities on the Tezos ecosystem. So how do we do it is, so there are three essential components for the application. The first one is a stable coin, which is currently being under development, and we term it as USDY. So the ratio is 1:1 for the USD dollar. Second is purchasing and selling of put option, that are also known as securities. Third is exchange system for a token. So the innovation part is, so generally in a traditional securities marketplace, there is one buyer and one seller, and order book matchmaking happens. So in blockchain, when we do those things, there is a huge difference that we have gas fees, and each modification costs a lot of time, and it becomes a computationally big problem. So in order to eradicate that, we have removed the order book mechanism, and we have a buyer and a platform, and the securities are being purchased from different sellers. So it basically it was inspired by the Hedgehog on the Ethereum platform, and it has a lot of benefits over the traditional example. Like the risk is minimized as it is taken by everyone in the sellers, and even the profits also increase in the long run because each of the seller is able to participate in purchase of securities contract. So how does securities work? So we have developed a system, like it consists of 25 days, and it has two components. In the first phase, it is consists of 23 days. Users can add liquidity, and so that they can gain premium on the purchase of securities. And users can also purchase securities with the expiration of 7, 14, and 21 days, depending on the time left in the cycle. And in the second phase, the users who provided liquidity can withdraw premium as well as the left of the stakes out of the contract. And in this phase, no one can purchase securities. So how does it work? So a user can mint tokens by locking up their exchange to get the stable coin on the platform. And with these tokens, they can purchase and sell securities. And in some time, like if they are selling securities, they would be gaining premium, and the users who purchased can exercise it at a later point of time, depending on the expiration date. And if they want to go back and convert their stable coin into XCZ, we have an exchange system for that. So taking a case study, and I'll shortly showcase the demo. So let's just say a person purchases a securities contract with expiration of 14 days from now and pays the premium with a strike price of 2 or 2.4 USD, depending on the price of the Tezos in Tezos. So after some time, the price fell from 2 to 1 USD. So he has the ability to exercise if he believes that the price won't go further down and it is the right time to exercise his security. He would be gaining a back 1 USD back for redeeming the security, and minus the profit would be 1 USD minus the premium paid at the initial stage. So moving on to the demo. So we have the first page where we can mint stablecoin known as USDY by giving up our XDZ token. So if I, alright, so right now I have minted some tokens for the demo purposes. Like we have 277 USDY token and in the 30,000 XDZ. So yeah, this comes the selling securities page. So in a securities contract, the currently 67.2 USDY tokens are locked up, and from that there are 3 people who are providing securities, and out of those 3, I am one of them, and the amount that I've staked up is 29.03 USDY. So basically, the more higher amount the ratio is, the more ratio of premium would you be getting out of the purchase of securities contract. I would definitely withdraw my premium at any point of time in the cycle and add more supply to the contract. And similarly, I can purchase securities contract with the expiration of 7, 14, 21 days. The quantity could be 1, 2 or anything with the strike price. So currently we are using the strike price to be on the call price to be 2 USD, and similarly we can purchase higher or lower range. So I'll be purchasing at the strike price of 2.4 with a premium of 0.4, and the break-in price would become, so if I want to make a negligible loss, that would be 1.9 USD if the price falls down. All right, so I'll purchase a securities contract right now. So the code has been deployed on the Delphinet because the gas fees are reduced by a lot of factor, and just to say, and we have utilized the Thanos wallet. Just to say. So at this point of time, so the price would be fetched from the Oracle, and then the securities would be purchased. I think there's some internet issue going on. So yeah. I don't think the transaction was confirmed. I'll look into that, but all right. So that's how the workflow happens. Moving on to the next part, we have an exchange mechanism. So in order to swap tokens back to XDZY, we have developed an AMM-based exchange. So for the technical details, currently the XDZ supply is 1,000 tokens and AL supplies 2,000 tokens. So the formula for that is x into y into 2 to the power 10 plus 6. That's a parabolic function. So you can have the important points to note that we have different liquidity providers, and we can modify the constant functions depending on the price change. Because yeah, so it's working now. So I have purchased securities. Just a moment, so the transaction gets completed. So yeah, so the securities contract has been purchased. So the strike price is 2.4, quantity is 1, and expiration is 14/11 next month. All right, so right now, if I sell the securities because the price hasn't been dropped, so I would be at a loss of the due to the higher premium. All right, so yeah, so on the other page, so since I purchased a securities contract, other people will be getting the premium in the ratio, and that can be withdrawn by anyone, the liquidity provider, at any point of time. So moving on to the exchange part. So let's just say someone wants to go back to their XDZ, they can get the tokens back. So if they want their XDZ to be get back their XDZ, so they can swap it with our exchange mechanism. So moving on for the future plans of this project. So first of all, we do plan to integrate different types of securities such as futures contract or call options to have a wide variety for all the people. And second is implementation of securities for different assets on the Tezos ecosystem. We could have securities for gold, precious metals, or any other currency that we deem fit. So that will be the future plan. Yeah, so thank you. So I guess the exchange is happening and it would get confirmed shortly. So any questions I could answer?
Thank you, Anmol. Questions will be taken at the end of the session. So next we have Nikhil. This is the last presentation.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, so
You can share the screen.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is the project that I've created. It's called Betting Pool. So what my goal with this project was that users that there are many people who hodl XTZ anyway. So when you're hodling a cryptocurrency, you're already interested in the value for that cryptocurrency. So it's good if there is some way, like even in a traditional banks, even the interest rate is very low, but when you're hodling some money, even in fiat, you get back some interest. So in Tezos, you can similarly delegate your funds to any baker. So there are many good bakers. There is no charges to delegate your money, and you can get back yields on just hodling your money, even if it's in your wallet. So what I did was I created I gamified this concept, and I created an application where a user has a chance to increase the returns that they can get. So we'll start with this application. I'll explain as we proceed. So this is the landing page of the application. So whenever there is when someone gets on the landing page, things you can see words like bet type, there is some place bet, and there are some rules. So naturally I'll click on the rules. So this is the rules section of the application. So here, like I have explained like what how the application works. So this is first you'll be, because initially we saw that there is something like bet type. So we have explained what a bet type is. So each bet type represents the lock period for your funds. So what does that mean? For example, a bet type 5 signifies a lock period for 5 Tezos cycles. It's Tezos cycles. Roughly 5 Tezos cycles is equal to 15 natural days. Okay, so if you're taking a bet type of 5, your funds will be locked for 5 days of cycle, that is 15 natural days. So now someone is like, okay, I want to place a bet. So how much money do I need to put in? So here I've explained that you will have to pay 5, 3 or 1 Tezos for bet type of 5, 10 or 15 respectively. So now we are clear with two things: what a bet type is, how much money one needs to put in, and the third thing that we're clear with, the lock-in period for our funds, right? So the next step is that how will I get rewarded? So at the end of the lock period of your bet, the smart contract will choose a winner and will automatically transfer the funds back to the winner's account, winner's like Tezos account. So we'll come to the point like how this winner is chosen. Like just for brief description, I mentioned that random numbers are used which were provided by the users. Okay, so for any bet type, any betting application, any gaming application which involves money, so there is always a thought like, what is the risk? So in this application, the user faces almost zero risk. The maximum risk is the opportunity cost for your own delegation rewards. So by what I mean by saying that is, so if you hold your funds in your own wallet, let's say you get some rewards from the delegate. But if you put the funds in this application, the maximum loss is those rewards. For example, if we're getting XXTZ back, you can lose that reward amount. Otherwise you'll get back all your money. So prize money will automatically be transferred to the winner. Okay, so next is, where does the prize money come from? We have already discussed okay, that the contract to which we are sending the funds, that particular contract will delegate the funds to some reputed delegator, and money will come from there. Okay, so as I just mentioned, that will come how the winner is chosen. So here are no more page. So I've created a Notion page if anybody is interested in details, because we didn't want the user to like get into too much details on the landing page and get confused. Okay, so here I've taken an example. So consider a user who places a bet type of 5. So 5 bet type means that he'll have to put in 5xtz, which will be logged for 5 Tezos cycles. So at the end of 5 Tezos cycles, the bet pool will end and the users will get back rewards. So let's assume that there were 10 users who were part of this particular bet cycle, and the reward rate was 0.5% for those 5 cycles. This is the amount that was returned back by the delegator to which we delegated, Baker. So since because the 10 people participated in this bet pool, each of them putting in 5xtz, so the pool was 50xtz. Returns were 0.5%, so which gives us 0.25xtz as a return amount. So at the end of the bet period, whenever a winner is chosen, the winner will get 5 plus 0.25xtz. So this 0.25 is the extra reward that he's getting. Otherwise, all other users who are not winners will get back their 5xtz back. And here, because we need to, like, the contract is making some internal calls, so there is some gas charges and all that stuff. So for that, this number is not yet decided. We'll change it by when we go to the main net and observe the statistics about the cost of the application. So there will be a small fee, say 2%, 5%, just to keep the contract running. So now the most important question: how is the winner calculated? So each user sends a random number of their choice along with their funds. So as we just saw here, that there is some random number going on. So we can just click on this button and a new random number is generated. You can even type a random number of our choice. Let's say I want to make a random number. So random number sent with every bet is added to a timestamp and added to a variable called seed. So seed is sum of all the random numbers that were sent by users in that particular bet type. So for example, at the end, there were 10 users. At the end of the 10 bets placed, the sum of all the random numbers will be moduloed by 10, which will give me a single digit number. Let's say it's 7. So if the resultant number is 7, the 7th person who placed the bet in that particular bet pool will be chosen as the winner. I hope I'm clear with my explanation. So yeah, so let's try to place a bet. So I am choosing a bet type of 10. There is some random number. I'll click on place bet, and I'm again using Thanos wallet for my application. I'll just put in my password. So why Thanos wallet? Because I wanted an experience for my users in which they don't have to put in their keys anywhere. The keys are managed by the wallet, and because the other option is to store the keys in local storage, which is not very trustworthy operation. So we placed a bet. So this is the operation ID, and we'll get an confirmation as soon as the bet is injected to the blockchain and it's live. So what is behind the scenes? Let's talk about some behind the scenes stuff. So uh, a lot of people who are into developing on Tezos blockchain know that there is no way to know what the current block number is, at least till now. They're soon going to add this functionality as well. So for that particular reason, I have added an oracle. So I'm using an Oro oracle. So what my Oro oracle does is it tells my smart contract what the current cycle number is going on, because as I mentioned that it's the lock-in period is dependent on cycles. So it's very important for the contract to know what the current Tezos cycle is going on, because the cycle number will decide if the funds should be allowed to be withdrawn or not, which particular bet pool this particular bet belongs to. So I'm using an Oro node. Then you can see that there is some data here. So there is also a feature where a user can go and click on my bets. So it takes the injected Thanos address and retrieves all the bets placed by this particular address. So these are the bets that I placed with this address. another job of my oracle is that at the end of a bet cycle, as I said, that the rewards will be automatically sent back to the users. So someone has to trigger that function, right? So my oracle is responsible for triggering the smart contract to calculate the winner and send back the funds. So yeah, I guess that's it from my side. Sneha, Om.
Okay, thank you, Nikhil, for the presentation. I think,
Yeah. So thank you thank you all of you guys. Thanks all the fellows for presenting and giving us demo of the wonderful work that you've done in amount of just 8 weeks. Really amazing. Appreciate everybody loves your work. And for then I would like to thank personally to everyone from from Tejo team, Tejo's India team, Cryptonomic team, SmartPy team, Aditya, Jignesh, Dibyo, Mike, Vishak, Franco is from SmartPy, Kapil, and everybody. If I'm missing out any name, for staying active and giving out your time and putting your energy and efforts in helping out these young developers in building such a brilliant projects in such a short amount of time. So if you guys have any questions, please follow Tejos India on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter. We are going to be putting all of these projects out with very detailed their Agora post and with their detailed specification, their live testnet link, and we hope to make most all of these projects put on Tejos mainnet as well, which will be just for experimental purpose for now. And you guys feel free to play around with that. Apart from that, with end of this fellowship, we are going to keep supporting most of these projects in one way or another, and we will be kickstarting from November our hackathon season, where year long there will be some mini hackathons going on in some universities and some colleges, and if there will be many small amount of small size hackathons, and there will be some fixed amount of prize for everybody, and you guys can keep participating on that. Given the the feedback that we are getting for this Tejos India Fellowship, we are really excited to announce the next cohort or the next extension of this event very soon, as soon as possible. We are going to this time plan it out in a very elaborative way. We are going to increase the cohort size from 10 to probably 20 or 30, and we are going to keep out and we are going to implement some of the feedback that we have taken in our first version, and all the everything that we have experienced so far. We are going to put our experience into that, and we are going to make sure to make your next Tejos Fellowship experience even better. But you don't need necessarily if you to rely on the fellowship for staying in the Tejos ecosystem. There are a lot of incentive programs that will keep going on in India and also around the globe. There are multiple hackathons that keeps going on, some global hackathons, be it channeling hackathons, even Cryptonomic are also part of a lot of hackathons. So do follow us. We are going to keep you guys updated about every single event that you can be part of. Keep learning about Tezos. Those who don't have any idea what Tezos is, go to our YouTube channel and go to Tejos India YouTube channel and learn what is Tezos and the basics about staking and everything. And those who want to get started with Tezos, we are going to drop some links about some on our Telegram channel, and we're going to share on Twitter as well, so they can get started with Tezos. It's been really amazing so far with all of these projects, all of the mentors, all of our ecosystem partners, and we are gonna be sharing more information about all of the projects very soon. And again, I would like to thank all of you guys who had been part of this fellowship, and also who keep supporting us in everything that we do, like all the teams, Tejo, Cryptonomic, and other people in the SmartPy. We used to we did Tejos India Hackathon, which was not as big as this fellowship has become, and the interest that we have seen, it's growing exponentially. For this fellowship also, we got we had to close down the application. We got 1,400 applications. So, and we're going to keep bringing amazing events and amazing nice initiatives for you guys. And stay active, stay updated, do follow us everywhere. If you just want to stay updated about what is happening in India regarding Tezos, but there are a lot of cool things you can follow. You can follow Cryptonomic, you can follow Tezos official handles. There are multiple activities going on all around the globe, enough to keep you keep you full in terms of your development activities throughout the year. So once you are into the Tezos, you won't have time to do something else, and you will keep, and it will keep you incentivized and networked and communicated all around the year. Thanks again, all of you guys who became the part of this workshop. We are gonna share all the screenshot, all the information on DevFolio page as well, on our Twitter page as well. And if anybody has any doubts, if anybody wants any follow-up regarding this project, or anybody is interested in anything else, you feel free to reach out to me, Sneha, or anybody from Tezos India team, or any of our ecosystem partner team. Again, thanks a lot, guys. I wish all of you a very happy weekend, and all our partners in New York, Cryptonomic guys, have a very good day forward. And thanks again for doing such a job, all the projects. Thank you all.